Welcome into the Commanders Report. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and today it's the mailbag where I answer your questions on the Washington Commanders right here on the show. If you guys want to get a question on a future edition of the Washington Commanders Report here by Chat Sports, we actually do these mailbags on our live shows every single Wednesday starting at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, where I answer your questions on the Burgundy and Gold every single week. So if you guys want to join the most interactive Commanders fan community here on YouTube, we're the fastest growing Commanders channel on the YouTube platform right now for a reason, and that reason is because we give you guys free and informative content on the Commanders every single day. So if you love the Commanders, you want news on this team every single day, click that subscribe button and join our family today. First one coming in from JG says, has Jayden convinced you that he is solid passing over the middle? Yes, he proved this to me last year with LSU. Now, people will point to Jayden's heat map, quote-unquote heat map, where he didn't throw the ball over the middle of the field at a high percentage rate. So people took that and said, oh, he doesn't throw it over the middle a ton, therefore he can't do it. And it's like there's a difference between he can't do something and he doesn't do something. At LSU, he just pretty much took advantage of having Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., and he just threw up fades all day. And, but he did show on film his ability to go through a full field progression read and hit a guy over the middle of the field on like an intermediate dig. He showed that time and time again on his LSU film. It was one of his best throws that he showed consistently on his NFL film. So even when I was going back to my film analysis of him back during his LSU days, I was like, this guy's going to be able to throw over the middle in the National Football League. He's got the size, he's got the vision, he's got the mental processing ability, and he's got the accuracy. So Jayden has certainly proven that this year, in my opinion. He's done a good job throwing over the middle of the field. Could he get better as the years go on? 100%. But he's definitely done a good job at this point convincing me that he can throw over the middle effectively. Going for Miss Terry. What's up, Miss Terry? Says, should we splurge this offseason and go get Tee Higgins to pair with Scary Terry? If you can afford him, 100%. Now, do the Commanders want to pay him close to $35 million per season? Because I think that's what the New England Patriots are gearing up to pay him. Okay, obviously 35 is an astronomical amount of money for a wide receiver. That's like quarterback money at this point, but there's a lot of receivers right now that are making over 30. Justin Jefferson is at 35 right now. Jamar Chase, I think, is going to be making more than 35 on his next contract when he comes due this offseason. So I think that Higgins is going to be very expensive. Now, if you feel like Higgins can be that missing piece to the offense that turns this offense from like really good to like the best offense in football, the Commanders do have a lot of cap space. So maybe that move is worth it. But if you're going to be making that move, you got to understand that's going to be a big time investment in the future of Tee Higgins. So if you're willing to do that, great. If you're not, then you probably don't sign him. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comments section. Would you pay Tee Higgins $33+ million per year to bring him in here with the Washington Commanders? Give me a yes or give me a no. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. And when that happens, take advantage of that time by giving me a yes or a no down there in the comments. Got one from my man Griffin Burkle here. Says, do you think Commanders will sign Micah Parsons this offseason? Well, he's not a free agent this offseason, so he would have to get released by the Cowboys, and there's just no way in hell that happens, Griffin. He's one of the best defensive players in football. If he somehow asks for a trade, which I really don't think so, he wanted to be a Cowboy. He wanted to be drafted there. He loves it there in Dallas, and he has said time and time again he only wants to play for the Cowboys in his career. But if he decides, hey, all of a sudden I want to get traded, even then, I mean, are the Cowboys really going to trade Micah to the Commanders? I think there's a 0% chance that we see Micah Parsons play for the Washington Commanders. Now, obviously, Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. would love to have a guy like Micah because they used him in an incredible way there in Dallas. He was a perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate in this system that we run in Washington, which is exactly the reason why the Cowboys, even if they have to trade him next offseason, there's no way in hell they're going to trade him to Washington. So, Griffin, unfortunately, I would say there's a 0% chance Micah Parsons plays for the Washington Commanders in 2025. Now, before we get into the rest of our content today, guys, and I get to the rest of your questions, I want to have a word from our sponsor here at Game Time, which is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for the sports, music, comedy, and theater in your area. I mean, folks, we all know that experiencing a sporting event, especially a football game live, is unlike anything you can get from watching the game on your couch. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Guys, I'm somebody that likes to get kind of tickets last minute. I'll be just sitting here at my office here at Chat Sports, and I'll say, you know what? I want to go see an NBA basketball game today, or I want to go see an MLB baseball game. And then, just spur of the moment, I just take out Game Time. It's the only ticketing app I have on my phone, and I know every single ticket I see on there is going to be have the lowest price guarantee. I also know I'm not going to get slapped with a crazy fee at checkout because it's all in pricing, transparent, right up front. And then they also have flash deals. So for someone like me that likes to wait last minute to get the tickets, they actually give you lower price tickets and drive down the prices the closer the event gets. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets for Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code ChatSports. It's one word, all caps, ChatSports, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code ChatSports for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Got one from my man Dill Pickle here. Says, how do you feel about the drama going on in Philly, mainly between Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown? Do you think this changes anything for their matchup against us? So, it's definitely interesting. Brandon Graham, said in like some sort of interview that Jalen and A.J. aren't friends anymore, and they used to be friends. So they've had a little bit of a falling out. Now, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens because I could see this working out in two ways. Number one is that Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown's relationship continues to crumble, and it makes things worse for them. The other way I see it is that, this really inspires and motivates them to get the job done to finish out the year, and they become an even more dangerous duo between the two of them. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. But here's kind of the interesting thing here, Dill, is that I think that if A.J. Brown goes to the front office and to Howie Roseman there in Philly and says, you know what, trade me or trade Jalen Hurts. If I'm Howie Roseman, I think that I might stick with A.J. Brown and try and get a different quarterback. I think he's that valuable. I think he's a top 3 receiver in the National Football League today. I think he's that good. And Jalen Hurts, I mean, he's a decent game manager. He's accurate. He can do some stuff playmaking outside the pocket. But, are you giving up A.J. Brown to keep Jalen Hurts as your quarterback? Personally, I'm not. So I think that A.J. Brown's one of the rare wide receivers that I would rather keep over a quarterback I've already paid. But it's definitely going to be an interesting situation here if it continues to devolve further. Then we got one from Chake Jipper, who says, if you had to guess right now, is Kliff Kingsbury back with the team next season? I think so. Okay, I do think that Kliff is going to be back next year. Now, there's a chance that he goes to Chicago just because of his connection with Caleb Williams, but I do think that Kliff needs to have multiple seasons in the NFL as a good offensive coordinator before a team takes another chance at him as a head coach. I think that if he takes a job this year as a head coach, it's going to be in Chicago. But honestly, I think Ben Johnson is probably the favorite for that job as we stand here today. So I would say Kliff Kingsbury, if I had to guess right now, I think he will be back with the Washington Commanders next year. So let me know, true or false, down there in the comment section. Kliff Kingsbury will be back with the Commanders next season. Simply give me a true or false down there in the comment section. Then we got one from Super Steelers Gaming here. It says, Jack, how many yards does Jayden Daniels get? I say at least 100 rushing. So I think he's talking about this week against the New Orleans Saints. I mean, it varies depending on the game. Sometimes Kliff really does a good job scheming things open in the passing game, and he doesn't have to run as much. And, some other games, Jayden has to run more. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens here at Super Steelers Gaming. I don't know if he gets to 100. That's quite a bit rushing. I think that he could get over 300 passing, but 100 rushing is going to be tough to get to for sure. So make sure you guys like the video if you haven't already. If you want the Commanders to make the playoffs, right now the Rams are right on Washington's heels with 4 games left to go. If you want Washington to make the postseason, don't jinx it. Click that thumbs up icon right now and help out today's video. Then we got one from my man, Gerald P. Love that profile picture there. Gerald says, who's the better wide receiver, Noah Brown or Osborn? So talking about KJ Osborne. Noah Brown's the better receiver, in my opinion. KJ has a drop issue. Tell me if you've heard that before about a Washington Commanders pass catcher. I mean, obviously Zach Ertz has had a little bit of a drop issue. Noah Brown has had a little bit of a issue this year, but Noah, in my opinion, is a better route runner. I think he's better after the catch than KJ Osborne is. Now, KJ's had some decent production in his career as a number 3 receiver with the Minnesota Vikings, but I think most of that is because Kevin O'Connell was scheming him open, and teams were really fosing in on Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, leaving KJ wide open at times. So I'm not sure if Kliff is going to be able to scheme KJ Osborne open as much as Kevin O'Connell did, especially without a Justin Jefferson-level receiver here in Washington. Scary Terry's great, don't get me wrong, but JJ is a completely different beast. So I honestly, I'm pretty pessimistic about CJ or KJ Osborne coming here. I don't think he's a great athlete. I don't think he's a separator against man coverage. He doesn't have particularly great size either. And then he has a drop issue. So, I think that there's not a whole lot about his game that makes me say, wow, he's going to come in here, learn a brand new playbook, and he's going to be immediately our number 2 receiver. Honestly, I think that the Commanders' best shot here is Luke McCaffrey, De'Ami Brown, Olamide Zaccheaus. One of those guys steps up in a big way to take on Noah Brown's role and becomes this team bona fide number 2 receiver, because until further notice, until somebody else asserts themselves as a legit number 2 option on this team, Terry McLaurin's going to get constant double teams, all right? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. I'm hoping Luke McCaffrey really steps up here. He's the rookie. He's the guy you spent a relatively high draft pick on. I'm hoping Luke really steps up in the weeks to come. Then we got one from Jasmine Gray here. Says, I have a question for you, Jack. KJ Osborne will help with the wide receiver room of this team. Will he help? It's definitely possible. We'll see. But as I just detailed, guys, I don't love his athletic profile. Don't love his route running. Don't love the drops that he has had in his career. So I'm hoping that he can come in and be a productive member of this team. But honestly, I think Luke McCaffrey has the best shot of being this team's number 2 receiver down the stretch. So I guess we'll see what happens here. Going some Starstruck 44, who says, what do you think will be Washington's final record this year? And do you think they stave off the Rams to make the playoffs? I do. I think the Washington Commanders have a relatively favorable schedule down the stretch here, okay? I think they should win at least 2 more of their games, which will get them to 10 wins. All right, I think they should definitely beat the Saints. I think they should definitely beat the Falcons at home. All right, those are the 2 games that I feel like you got to win. Then the final 2 games, other than that, are the division games, right? You got the Eagles on the at home. If you can win that game, you can maybe even start talking about this team winning a playoff game again. And then you got the Cowboys to finish out the season. I think that the Commanders should have beaten them like 38-10 in their previous matchup. They just didn't capitalize on opportunities. Certainly feel like they can beat the Cowboys. My prediction, Starstruck, is I think they're going to win 3 of their final 4, get to 11 wins, and they're going to be a wild card in the NFC playoff picture. The Eagles win the division, but the Washington Commanders are going to be right on their heels. And I think the Washington Commanders win this division next year. So make the call that for me down there in the comment section. Will the Commanders make or miss the playoffs this year? The Rams are really hot. They're right on the heels of the Washington Commanders. But I do think that the schedule down the stretch here is pretty favorable for Washington. So let me know down there in the comment section. Will the Commanders make or miss the playoffs this season? That'll be it for this week's mailbag, guys. Really do appreciate your guys' support. Click that subscribe button for more free and informative Commanders content every single day. And until next time, guys, go raise some hail.